So we'll talk about this book today, The Happiness Advantage. The book is by Shawn Achor. It's about how a positive brain fuels success in work and life. This is the book. So usually you will see people around you that most of us believe first you need to work hard, then you will become successful, and then you will become happy. That's how I think we have been taught in schools, in colleges, in society, by our parents. Consciously, subconsciously, this has come to our mind that, first you need to achieve something and then you will become happy. Maybe if you are, struggling about your, let's say, basic necessities, I would call it roti kapda makan, then it may make sense. But once you have reasonable amount of money to live your life, I don't think it's necessary to first you work hard, then you get successful, and then you become happy. A lot of studies have been done in this area, and which proves it otherwise, that it's not the case. And you can, leave about the studies, you can observe people around you, or yourself. Like, let's say you got a new job, or you got a good hike, you got a promotion, you got a good marks in your, let's say, college or school. How long does that happiness remain? It gives probably a few days of happiness, and then life goes as is. It doesn't change anything very major. So then the question comes, how to live the life, and what's the right way to think about, what's the right way to approach the life. So what this book suggests is, and I agree with it, first you become happy, learn to live a happy life, and success in every terms will follow you. Success in terms of your health, wealth, relationships. I think these are the three major things where you need success and to live a good life. With relationships, I just want to point that there has been a study, you can see it on YouTube. It was by Harvard Institute. So they studied probably people for 70 years, 60 years, and what they found is, people were from all the areas, rich, poor, middle class, upper middle class, with very high profile jobs or a menial job. But ultimately what mattered is people who had good relationships were much happier. So relationship does have a direct impact on your happiness index. So what is happiness now? Happiness, if you search on Google, it's probably the perspective, the way you think. I can be happy by just being outside in the nature, and somebody can be happy with something else. But more or less, it's about a positive mood that you have in present and a positive outlook for the future. That kinds of make you a little happy. So this book has also talked about what are the ways to increase your happiness, and I think it's on page 50. Yeah. So number one is meditation. I will read the line from this book, couple of lines. Neuroscientists have found that monks who spend years meditating actually grow their left prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain most responsible for feeling happy. So, but I think don't complicate it too much about learning meditation. I think what in this book also it is written, and I practice meditation. I've been practicing it from last few years. So just focus on your breath, like you just observe your breath, which nostril the breath is coming, which nostril the breath is going out. Even if you practice, let's say, for 5 minutes in the morning or just before sleeping, it brings a change. Second point, which is written, before we go to second point, I think there are a few things more that I would like to point. So the research shows that regular meditation can permanently rewire the brain to raise levels of happiness, lower stress, even improve your immune function. So, see, your mind has an impact on your immune system, your health, and doing meditation, it makes your mind calm. So ultimately, your immune system also works better. Very much relevant in today's world with Corona and everything. Second point is find something to look forward to. So what is written is, one study found that people who just thought about watching their favorite movie actually raised their endorphin levels by 27%. I'm not very good fan of watching movies and getting happy, but the point is, have something to look for. Maybe your vacation, just traveling somewhere outside, meeting your family, going to your native place, doing something which you like to, which you look forward to. So that's why sometimes if you see very old people, let's say on the age of 80, 85, who cannot do a lot of things by themselves, they become a little bit sad because they don't have something to look forward to. If you are on a bed and you are completely dependent on others, I mean, what would you look forward to? What vacations you can plan? What are the things you can do? So life become a little sadistic at that point. But for most of us, I mean, just thinking that I will be doing this after 6 months or after 6 years, it increases your happiness. That's what is written, and I think that makes sense. If you don't have something to look forward to, life will be very boring. But what matters is what you look forward to, because whatever you focus on and whatever you give importance to, it should be something meaningful. I mean, so that it gives you a permanent and lasting happiness. Why I say that is, let's say if it is completely materialistic thing, maybe it's good to start up with, but if you spend something, if you focus on something which is related to people, or which is doing something good for others, or doing something for the nature, that gives a permanent lasting happiness. There are a lot of researches about it, like focusing just on yourself and making just yourself happy, it gives an happiness. But if you include others as well, your surroundings as well, the happiness index or the satisfaction level will be much higher. Then the third one is commit conscious acts of kindness. So very good example which is written in this book is, let's say you are driving and on the toll you just give $2 for the car behind you. I mean, it's something that the next person or who is behind you didn't expect, and it just gives you happiness, like you have done something. If it doesn't make sense to you, what you can do is, it's not just about giving money or giving a toll or anything. Just giving a genuine compliment to somebody. Let's say you are in a restaurant and somebody is serving you very well, your waiter. You can give a genuine compliment. Recently I did that. I just told you are a very nice human being, and that really made a difference. He was very happy. I can see from his face. To strangers, let's say you are talking to somebody, like we make call to, let's say, your bank, somebody speaking from the call center, and they are genuinely very helpful. So just tell them that you have been very impressed by their service. Or anyone you meet, let's say somebody is having a good smile. When I walk, there's a guy who's probably 70 years old. He's always smiling and very calm. I just told him one day that I like your smile, you seem to be a very calm person. The level of happiness that it gave to me, that I gave him a genuine compliment, and I think whenever I see him, I can see that genuine smile that comes when he sees me, because people, I've read recently another book. It's about Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's not just about winning friends and influence people, but how your very basic things or basic things that you do for the society or for the people around you can impact. Like most of us are, very, we need kind of an appreciation. So people are very hungry for that. So if you give somebody very genuine appreciation, don't flatter. I mean, if you flatter today or tomorrow, people will come to know that it's a flatter or it's a genuine appreciation. But if it is a genuine appreciation, you will know that one genuine appreciation for somebody can actually change his life. He will know, okay, that is my strength. So please give that. I mean, that's basically commit conscious acts of kindness. I mean, giving a genuine appreciation can also be a conscious act of kindness for somebody, but it should be genuine. Again, it's not just from the outside, inside you're thinking that's a crap person. So it doesn't work that way. Then infuse positivity into your surroundings. Lifting up people's mood around you, it can give you happiness. In this book, there's an example about, one study have found that spending 20 minutes in good weather not only boosted positive mood, but broadened thinking and improved working memory. So that's my personal experience as well. I spend a lot of time outside in nature, and it helps me to keep my mood positive. I don't know, like probably the way you sit with some people, they have an energy. So the same way, like you feel good with some people, you don't feel good with some other people. Same way you can see with the nature. I always feel that nature has an energy. If you spend time, let's say in nature, under the sky, in a state park, in a forest, in camping, it gives certain kind of energy to you, and you feel very uplifted. There are a lot of studies about it, but I think nowadays we focus a lot about what Google says or what psychologists have studied, but a few things you can discover by yourself, but by just observing your mind, like how doing certain things give you happiness or give you some satisfaction. And that's one of the things that I found, that spending time in nature, it definitely uplifts your mood. Another thing that is written here is probably don't watch too much of violent things, negative news. We think that it's not going to impact us, we are just watching. But like the way you think that this is, if I eat this, it is going to increase my cholesterol level, if I eat this, it is going to impact me, let's say increase my calories. Same goes with what information you are consuming from the world. I mean, read the news probably for a few minutes, that's fine, but don't watch too much of news, negative media, all that. I mean, it definitely has an impact on your mind. So your mind, whatever information you consume, if it is too negative, it is going to impact your health as well. And the books talk about, they have done a lot of studies, experiments, how it impacts your mind and body by watching too much of negative information. I'm reading a line from this book. Psychologists have found that people who watch less TV are actually more accurate judges of life's risk and rewards than those who subject themselves to the tale of crime, tragedy, and death that appear night after night on 10 o'clock news. Makes sense. Okay, so another thing is exercise, which can uplift your mood and happiness. So you have probably heard that exercise release pleasure-inducing chemicals called endorphins. So again, this is something studies Google that is different, but I think if you do exercise, you can see the calmness that comes in your mind, that calmness that you feel in the mind. Doing some meditation, running, walking in the nature, anything that you like to do, a trail in a state park. So it definitely increases and uplifts your mood. You can definitely feel that. Then another way is spend money but not on stuff. So it's not about buying a new shirt, buying new garments, or buying a new car, all that. That probably is not the way you can get some permanent happiness. But spending money on experiences, let's say you are having a vacation with your friends, or you're having a dinner with your friends, going to a restaurant, or what I do is, like, when I go to my village, there are people who work in our farmland. So whenever I go, we plan a dinner for everybody. It gives a lot of happiness to them. It gives a lot of happiness to me. It costs very less when you go to the rural areas of India, and the amount of happiness that gives to people around you really understand the value of money. I mean, it's probably around 3,000 to 5,000 rupees that you spend. 50 people eat a very nice dinner in that, and there's so much happiness. It's like a festival for them. So think about your every step. I mean, that's why I don't like wasting money as well. It's better to spend on people who really value that money, and that gives you a lot of happiness, satisfaction. Like your simple act has brought happiness to so many people. So spending money not on stuff, but probably helping somebody. Even if you're not helping, let's say your experiences, focus on your, probably go to a vacation. That's a better thing to do rather than just spending on a new watch or new car. That's just my personal belief, but that seems to work for me. Then another way to increase your happiness is exercise a signature strength. So everybody is good at something. Like my wife is good at decoration, event management. She likes to do that. She gets very happy. Somebody can be good at just making some cakes. So whatever you are good at, try to do that. It gives certain kind of happiness. So if I talk about my signature strength, it's about I have a hunger of learning. So in a day, if I don't learn something from a book or from YouTube video or anything, I feel little bit uncomfortable about it. So I make sure that on a day at least something I'm learning from anywhere. From people, from books, from videos, whatever. So that keeps me going. So these are some of the ways with which you can increase your happiness. It's a very good book, so we'll talk more about it in my coming sessions. I'll try to cover probably a few pages in every session, and we'll give you the summary of this book, The Happiness Advantage. Thank you.